Hello and welcome back to 1000 Gurus, where we share stories and lessons from people of all walks of life, with me, your host, J.R. Yonocruz. Today's guest is Aeden Pham for a special random show episode. This is actually Aeden Pham's 4th episode on the show. Another fun random show with one of our favorite repeat guests. It's always nice to have him on the show just to catch up with life updates and chat about our recent musings and what we've been pondering. After we get some of his recent personal reflections, we discuss topics such as self-care, indulgence, people who say things that they don't mean, the phantom cost of buying things that take up space, our reflections on our spending habits. I love recording very chill and relaxed conversations like this, and hopefully you guys will enjoy listening and maybe gain some insights along the way for yourself. At the very least, these are also good topics to reflect on in your own life. So without further ado, please enjoy this random show episode with Aeden Pham. Hello and welcome back to 1000 Gurus. Aeden, welcome back to the show.
Yay! Welcome back. Thank you for having me.
Applause. Yeah, thanks for being here. So as we discussed off camera, as of right now, if this episode is successfully published, you will currently be in first place for the most episodes recorded on the show. So you are first place with 4. Yeah. We have a couple people who are at 3, but you're the only person at 4 so far. So congrats. We'll see how long that lasts.
Cool. We love first place.
I know. Oh, also Yersin. Actually, I think there are... Before today, there were like 4 people who had 3. I think
Nice.
It's like my friend Hazi, Yersin, Julie, and then I think my friend Alex Hung. I think you know Hung, right?
Yeah.
So I think he's about to have 3, I think,
Nice.
because he's scheduled. But anyway, so yeah, 3 is a magic number. I feel like anyone who goes more than that, I think there's some special sauce there. I probably like you if that's the case.
Thank goodness. I was afraid for a second.
I know, because 1, it's like, all right, 2 could be a fluke. 3 is like, okay, I think there's a patterns going on here. I think there's an element of, I think I like you as a person. Yeah, because there's only so much selling out I can do if it's, oh no, it's just clout. Obviously, I don't have people on just for clout, or even as a big factor anyways. It's more just, I think you have something good to say. I think you speak really well. You have good reflections, and I like you. And if you are solid in all those 3 things, I'll invite you back for the 3rd time. But yeah, anyways, that's enough affirmations. So our last recording was August 4th. So we will do like a TLDR catch up with what Aeden Pham has been up to since then. So what have you been up to since then?
As per our previous discussions, I've made a lot of time for myself by taking a step back from working as much. So with that, I've been able to watch a lot more movies, a lot of more TV shows, read some books, play some games. I hosted, I think, 2 or 3 board game nights already. So it's a great success in that department. I've also been able to expand out into my social life. So been making more friends and potentially looking at some dating in the future. Yay.
Ooh, juicy.
Yummy.
Yeah. Nice. Cool. Going back into, there was a few things that I wanted to touch on. If you wanted to go deeper on these ones. So the therapy and any reflections that you've learned. I know the dating thing we just mentioned, and music and dance, just to tease that out. Like you mentioned, relaxation as the new sort of key, like a linchpin of things that connect those things to improve or advance those endeavors. Which one do you want to go into first?
We can definitely start with the music dance relaxation one. I think that'll branch out into everything else.
Yeah. So then you mentioned that you picked up the guitar, and that's improved your sort of relationship or growth journey in singing and being in the studio where you train at. So then how has relaxation played a role in this?
It started with talking to my vocal coach about how I feel about singing, or how I feel when I'm adjusting my singing to different technique or different ways that I wanted to express myself through music. And one thing I realized that as a type A, Capricorn, very detail oriented type person, I wanted to control everything. So the desire to have control over all these things or have a tight grip on them was causing me to not only psychologically but physically also stiffen. And that just made everything much more difficult. And so he impressed upon me the importance of relaxation, of caring about something and at the same time being flexible and adaptable through it. And so because of that, I decided to pick up guitar. So now I've had 2 lessons with the guitar, and the amount that I've been able to learn in these 2 lessons have been so much more than what I've learned with vocal technique for, I don't know, like the past 6 months, right? And part of it is because I came in with no expectations, no pressure. I very recognizably knew that I have no experience. And so anything with guitar was new, and it's as expected. With anything new, there's going to be a high learning curve. So I was like, you know what? If I suck, that's totally okay. That's expected. That's like the baseline. And because of that, I think I was more open to making corrections, adapting quickly, learning, absorbing information that was new and foreign to me. And it's been noted by other folks in the studio that I have been progressing with guitar, even in just these 2 lessons, much quicker than anyone has anticipated. And so with that, I've been trying to transfer that mindset into dance as well. Right? Like as a dancer, I'm always like, oh man, I want to level up. I want to do better. I want to look good. I want to impress the directors. I want people to realize that I can do this. And especially as someone on leadership for the team, I felt an additional pressure of, as someone on leadership, I should show the people that I am capable, not just in the work, but in dance. And the challenge for me since then has been to find a way to still relax through it, to show up to rehearsals and say, I might struggle with this choreography. I might have a hard time, but how can I find pathways to relax so that my mind can better adapt and retain what I'm trying to learn?
That makes a lot of sense. So then how have you felt that are there any concrete examples of, okay, yeah, I've been more relaxed and retaining or performing or learning choreography or performing choreography has been a lot better?
I can't fully say with confidence that I think I'm doing better, but I will say that, for example, starting off this season, I kept reminding myself, like, hey, I recognize that I'm becoming stiff, that my shoulders are becoming tense, that I'm stressing about learning this choreography. And I intentionally remind myself, like, we are here because we love dance. We are here to have fun. So how can I pivot my mindset in this learning environment to have fun, to connect to the people around me, to build community? And in doing so, I felt less stressed through it. And, at the end of the night, we performed the choreography, and I was like, you know what? I definitely made mistakes, but can I improve on the next run? And if that was the last run, can I improve on the next day? What am I taking away from this experience through this relaxation so that I can actually grow and improve rather than stress about growing and improving? And I received good feedback from the choreographer to say, oh, hey, dude, like that's probably the best I've seen you dance in a while. And so that was positive reinforcement for me in that my implementation of my practice to better implement relaxation is a productive one.
That makes sense. At the very least, you're less stressed out about it. And by
Mhm.
by that notion, you'll probably enjoy practice more. And, I have no doubt that when you are less stressed and you enjoy something more, you probably will perform better, if not immediately, but in the long term, right? So I guess that
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. It feels
That's awesome.
obvious and intuitive, but I
Yeah,
definitely
yeah, yeah.
think it's something that I've neglected a lot.
Yeah,
Like my vocal coach says, children learn by playing. And as adults, we forget how to play. And I think that
right.
this is my process of rediscovering what play is.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like to the point you just made, even though it might be obvious and intuitive, a lot of times I feel like as adults, as where we're at now, we have to be intentional with getting back or going to a place as
Mm.
opposed to being reactive and just being like, yeah, life is supposed to be shoulders up and tense and just stressed out all the time, right? Sometimes we do have to intentionally push the other direction. So I totally get that. I want to ask about the relationship stuff because I feel like that's also just as juicy. One phrase that you mentioned that I really liked as a jumping off point is managing eagerness. So can you
Mm.
take us through this whole topic with that?
Yeah, I have not dated a lot. And especially over the past couple of years, because I've been so focused on work, I have not made a lot of new friends. And so I find that now that I have time to go out and meet new people, potentially find interest and start dating, there's this eagerness in me to want to jump on like any
People.
people, right? So
We
if,
love jumping on people
yeah,
with
it's great,
consent.
and you really test out their strength. Can you carry me?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I found that I have this tendency where I'll like hint at an interest, and if I see reciprocation, then I just slam my foot on the accelerator. And that I have found is a quick way to turn someone off, even if it comes to a friendship, because it becomes too much too fast. And so for me, it's now about understanding that, yes, I am eager for this opportunity, or I'm eager for connection. And I want to make sure that this connection is genuine and not based out of this eagerness, or perhaps
Mm.
even like this insecurity of, oh, I don't have friends and I really want a friend now. You know?
Desperation.
Yeah, desperation, exactly. And so being able to relax, once again, everything is connected. Being able to relax and remind myself, like, hey, people are varying, and how well do I know this person to jump that quick, right? Let's have some good conversations. Let's find natural ways for that to occur and give it space and time to breathe. Because if it's able to do that, it's able to relax, it's able to adapt. And then we can move it from there.
Yeah, when we last talked about this, the last time we hung out,
Hmm.
I've been thinking about how, as kids, we're the opposite of overthinking. We kind of just, you make friends on the playground, you just talk to them, you just shout them, hey, want to play this? Oh my God, you like fire trucks, whatever. And it's so cool. Or I don't know, I guess maybe I admire people who are like that. Obviously, like the childlike, or like how children are, or how kids are. They can just be unapologetically themselves, be authentic, and then just make friends and connect. Unfortunately, as adults, we both know, a lot of other adults can probably relate, that that's not what life is like, and that's not how adults and people are like. Is there's so much of this like pretension and being something else and protecting yourself for good reason. I'm the same way. I'm very more protecting myself and not vulnerable and eager, because we learn as we go through life that you get hurt when you do that, because people will take advantage of you, or they'll take you for granted, or blah blah blah, X, Y, and Z. And not to say that's the excuse or the reason, but moving past all that, it's sometimes I think of, it would be so nice to just be kids in that sense as adults, just be like authentic and straightforward with each other. And then you have those people who are saying, I wish people were just more authentic and open with their feelings. And I'm like, that's a very sweet sentiment. But do you know how the real world works? Like, people aren't like that. Like, you can be that nice, genuine person. And I, praise you, but I feel sorry for you, because you're going to have a rough sort of dating life, friendship life, given that you are not a super just hot, attractive person and just bubbly personality that people just love. But even in that sense, sorry, I'm just going off in 10 different directions. Even in that sense, you probably get taken advantage of, or just people like for the wrong reasons, but whatever. But I think either way, it's like hard, because the way these social dynamics are, it's incentivized to protect ourselves and to be fake. And so as much as you can say, I want people to just be honest, like, no, because if they were honest, you would also run the other direction, because you're like, this person is too much too fast, or they're too genuine. And then it would be red flags in your brain, right?
Yeah, I agree. And I also think that on the receiving end of that, my instinct is to question the intention of the speed, or like the desire for that level of familiarity. And so that's something that I'm trying to introspect on my end as well, is like, if someone approaches me, but they're not someone that I immediately click with, or immediately think of as someone that I would be friends with or even pursue an interest with, then what is my hesitation from engaging with this person genuinely? Like, what am I protecting? And I think that's also revealed to me like a level of like shallowness that I find and dislike in myself. And now it presents me with an opportunity to address it head on, right? If someone approaches me and tries to have a conversation, and I was like, okay, I'm not really into this. But like, that doesn't mean we can't have a genuine connection still. That doesn't mean I still can't be kind. And so exploring that, I think, has been an interesting exercise.
That's true. I like that too. It's like, even if the person, you guys don't vibe immediately because of whatever reason, you can still be kind to people.
Yeah.
And I do think that's an important piece, that regardless of us interacting in this society and societal norms, we can still be kind to each other and not necessarily be completely like turn off, or big like a wall in front of us, or just shut them down. It's like, you could be kinder, but I get that sometimes that's not always easy, and the circumstances
Yeah.
is complicated.
Yeah. I will say I think that also stems from a little bit of selfishness on my part in that I'll approach someone that I have interest in, right? And I'm trying to be open and get to know them. And it's okay if I'm not your type, though I wish you were like nicer with the way that you approach me or like kinder with the way that we interact. Or even if we're in like a group setting, like it doesn't need to be cold, it doesn't need to be cruel. And so now I'm reflecting on that in that I wonder if I behave this way to other people. And so I'm now trying to be extra aware of my engagement with people that don't immediately click as someone that I would want to pursue an interest with. It's just a lot of new internal dialogue or reflections for me since I have spent a number of years just focusing on work. So it's a
Mm.
tricky minefield.
Right, right. Yeah, you're just in that era right now, right?
Yeah. I feel
But
like
that's
I'm
cool.
rediscovering my teenage years.
Yeah, I'm happy for you, man. I think
Thank you,
it's
thank
like
you.
you worked hard and you got into a good place in your career. And this, as a more macro observation, I feel like a lot of people our age or our generation, it's all about the focus on the career and the self, and for good reason, the economy and wanting financial stability. But I think at some point we need to start pushing back in the other direction of taking back our life and then actually enjoying our life and not just putting off our life until we're retired, right?
Yeah.
So that's exciting, even though it's going to be confusing and teenage again for you, but we'll
Yeah.
see. Hopefully the pool is going to be a lot better than when you were younger and just.
I have hope. I have faith.
Hmm. Okay. Anything on reflections from therapy? I know all these things might be related, the whole relaxing and the whole opening yourself up into
Mm.
dating and whatnot, but anything else on that piece?
There was a period of time when my therapist was like really pushing compassion, compassion, compassion. And I was like, okay, sure.
In what context?
uh,
Like compassion because you're just so like sociopathic or like what? What do you mean?
I think it usually derives out of conversations when I complain to her about how I feel that sometimes people will say a thing and then do the opposite. And then
What? You don't love that?
oh my God.
I
Uh,
love when people say and do different
oh
things.
man. It just
Yes.
grinds my gears. And I think I'm very intentional about trying to weed out that kind of hypocrisy in myself, or at least like a passive hypocrisy.
Yep.
So I get really frustrated, and her recommendation is I see that you're having like a strong emotional response to this. We've already understood that this ties to past trauma that you've had in your childhood and in family relationships. But what can we do now so that you don't go through this cycle of like frustration and anger and sadness? And her response was, we can have compassion for people. Like they're behaving this way for a reason, right? You behave this
Mm,
way for a reason. And so if we sit in compassion with them and move through it in that way, we may be able to let these experiences flow off of us a little bit more elegantly or more gracefully. And I was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, cool. I get it. You have trauma. That's why there's therapy. Go to find a therapist. She always gets a good chuckle out of that one. I was like, listen, girl, like if you can get a larger clientele list and have more work and make more money, I'd love that for you.
hmm. You're like, look, I got a lot of referrals of people who I think should be seeing you.
Yeah, I was just like, I send everyone to you. Well, not everyone. There's some people I try
Yeah,
to keep just because I was like, she's my therapist. Don't break.
right, of course. Yeah, you're like, at the same time, I want you to do well, but I don't want to send some of these people to you because I don't want you to get broke.
Yeah, exactly. I was just like,
I
I want
get
you to
you.
make money, but I also want you in a good enough condition to still be around for me.
Yeah, so it's understanding why people are the way they are,
Hmm.
but part of you is still like, yeah, sure, compassion, trauma, whatever, but also I want you to fix your problems because you
Yeah,
are inconveniencing me. Yeah.
yeah. And I think that's like the recurring discussion right now with my therapist and myself. It's like the whole goal of a lot of our conversation was to get me to feel my emotions as a Capricorn, as a type A person, as like a very meticulous trauma dumped person. My goal has always been to like organize my emotions and then tuck them away so that I can slowly handle them in bite-sized pieces.
Hmm.
But she has been challenging me to actually just take on the emotion when they occur. and finding
Mm,
more graceful ways of being able to process them in the moment as well as immediately after the moment. And as I go through this, I think it like pairs with my logic mind in that I'll understand why people behave a certain way or why they might behave a certain way. And at the same time, still want better for them because I want better for myself. And I think that's like the challenge is like, how do we go about that desire of better or like the want for better for everyone while also understanding that not everyone may want better for themselves.
yep. All the things that you've just said are things that I not only agree with because we're an echo chamber, but
Yeah.
also because I think the same way.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like in some instances, or you can look at it this way, but Blessy is my therapist in the sense of I always vent to her about people all the time. Not everything I say is exactly how I feel. It's just what I feel in the moment. And since she knows how my brain works, it's like a friend does a thing and I think it's totally stupid. And I'm like, why the heck would you? This makes no sense to me. And then as I'm speaking it out and she's just listening, then I'll go back and be like, I understand why. And I can see the nuance and the context and everything like that. And I know that the reason why I am upset is because I'm just taking it personally. And so now I have to, I don't know if I always say this, everything like this to her, but I know in my brain, I reflect on it as, okay, I know the root of this is that it's my high standards and like how I think things should be done. And when people do things that make no sense to my brain, it kind of just bothers the heck out of me. And then I'm like, okay, well, the fact that it's bothering me makes no sense. So now I need to learn how to just let it go because they can be all doing the wrong thing and being inefficient and non optimize all they want. It should not affect my emotions because I have no stake in that. And it's just it's just about my reaction to it. And so I think it's been nice to be able to vent that or even just by myself in the car. But it always comes back to, okay, I'm being too judgmental and I need to stop taking it personally because it doesn't matter. They can be however defective they want. They are not my spouse and they're not my kids, which I would have more stake in. They're just people, like friends or whatever. But that's a similar reflection, I guess.
Yeah, that's definitely a question my therapist has asked me before, which is like, why do you care?
Hmm.
This is someone else's problem. Like, why do you have to stick your hand in it? Why do you have to fix it? And I was like,
Yeah.
just seeing the inefficiency pisses me off because everyone
Hmm.
keeps saying, oh, I want the good things in life, or I think I'm a good person. And then they do something that immediately contradicts that. And I was like, don't you want to say what you mean and be the thing that you think you are? My brain can't wrap itself around that sort of
Yeah.
mental gymnastics. And that's frustrating for me. And so her follow up question is always like, how does this tie back to your childhood and family relationship?
Uh,
It's like, where else have you seen this? And like, where do your high
yeah.
standards come from? And I was like, damn, hit me hard.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I can relate because I know exactly where my judgmental side comes from. I'm like, okay, yeah, I know where this is. I get it. I understand it. We're all trying to get there, trying to get better. All right. If that is all, I would like to move to our other random topics just
Yeah.
to keep it moving. So the first one, we'll go in order, I guess. So
Mm.
burnout versus indulgence. And so we had talked about, we kind of brainstormed beforehand, but the catalyst for this was an idea that I had. And this was actually from my Bible study group. We were talking about burnout and how to handle that and self-care. So it was burnout and self-care essentially. And some people were they were combining self-care with indulgence, but they were just labeling it as self-care. And even though I didn't say this in my brain, I was like, okay, wait, hold on. I think we need to separate those two things because they're different. Self-care and indulging are not the same thing. They could be related, and then you can use indulgence as a way to what you perceive as self-care, but obviously in a previous episode, I would talk about this. Self-care is actually behavior that takes care of your long-term self, is how I define it. It's mostly the health things, but it's things that your future self would thank you for doing. And so therefore, eating a burger or ice cream and feeling like shit afterwards is not what your future self wants you to do. And it's not going to make them feel better. It's not taking care of your future self, right? That's what discipline is. So I would categorize the whole I had a tough day at work. Now I deserve 10 scoops of ice cream as not self care, but rather just indulgence as a way to decompress from your stressful day. And so there's a lot of things to pick apart about that. But I think for me, the jumping off point is separating those two things because they're not the same. So what do you think? What are your thoughts?
I absolutely agree. I think that indulgence can be a nice temporary fix, like quick solution to feel a little bit better. But for me, true self-care is hard work. And it's about being able to put yourself in a space where you can recover from what caused you to burn out and then start looking for productive and effective ways to prevent it from occurring again. If you continually fall back into burnout, then no self care was done because you're continually setting yourself up to be in a place that's bad, bad, bad.
Mm-hmm. So, like, your definition of self-care involves finding a solution to remove the problem. It's kind of like compassion is empathy plus solution, right?
Yeah. And like you said before, there's a discipline to it where it's not just about, oh, I know what will solve this. It's about committing to the plan of solving it. And I think this might be our PM brain talking a little bit, but
Of
mapping
course.
out, road mapping, timelining out what is this solution? How do I plan to achieve it? And what contingencies do I have in place if I should fail, when I should fail? Because, implementations of new plans are never 100.
That makes sense. So I'll add on my perspective too, is we talked about this in another episode, but I think the formula for burnout is doing something continuously for a long period of time or doing something without getting one, feedback that what you're doing matters. So those feedback loops, as we know in Agile, but also two, that you're going in the wrong direction. And it kind of goes to your point of aligning with your core values or what your vision for your life is. And if you're going towards that vision of like happy, healthy family and financial security so that you can have the freedom to spend time and do the fun stuff, then you have a clear direction. You know you're going in the right direction, but you're also getting the feedback loop of your boss, your environment, your coworkers, or your customers or whatever is saying that, wow, what you're doing matters and is making my life better or improving the world, etc. Because if you find yourself in those jobs where you don't have those feedback loops, you don't even know the day-to-day of how your job is important, for sure it's going to add up to burnout. And the same thing with you find out that you're going in the wrong direction. Like you're meant to go over here because you have a level of self-awareness, but your job is taking you in this direction. Of course you're going to get burned out. And so to your point, again, addressing either of those things could help. But I think if you get that self-care element piece into that, which how I define is more health and long-term related, I think it gives your engine a better chance of going through the stressful times because now your car is oiled and calibrated and maintained. And so now you can go through what you need to go through in order to get your goal, which probably requires you going through the stress.
Yeah, to extend off of that or to continue that thought, I think that's why understanding what your boundaries are is so important. This is, I feel like a little bit of a smaller example, but when I worked at a restaurant, very happy to work any position, very happy to work anywhere in the restaurant. It's totally fine. But there was one party that was extremely disrespectful to me. And after I had set them up, got them all their food and their drink, I told my manager that I would like to draw a boundary in continuing to serve this table because they have been so disrespectful. And he had told me that, hey, it's your job, you need to serve them. And I was like, okay, just know that if that's the case, I'm violating a boundary that I'm setting because you're forcing me to, and that's going to make me want to leave here. And because of the way that I communicated with them and the way that I communicated with my coworkers, we were able to make sure that I protected that boundary and that ensured that I felt comfortable enough to continue to work and stay and not quit, So it's definitely an ever evolving journey to discover the nuances within my boundaries and determine which ones are more solidified, which ones are a little bit more porous, and then being able to negotiate that with others and with myself. I think that's like tricky business.
Yeah. I like that. One more thought about this, because as I think about indulgence, just to wrap it up, it's kind of like if your body and your mind is like a car and you're maintaining it through self-care, actual self-care. When you lean into indulgences too much, like the ice cream or the fast food or whatever, it's like instead of putting good oil or clean gas into your car, you put, I don't know, fucking matcha or a milkshake into your gas tank. And you're like, no, that is not going to help your car run better or faster or more efficiently or last a long time. You're actually just screwing over your car, and your car is the thing that's going to take you from A to B. And so why would you lean on indulgences to get you through the tough times when you're burned out? That makes no sense. Yeah, go to the spa and turn off your mind, relax, or figure out like problem solve like you're saying or something like that, but actually take care of your health and not throw it away just because you think you need to wind down or something.
Yeah. And for me, it's about the intention of the action too, right? So yes, go to the spa, but what are you going to the spa for, right? I want, for at least myself, if I'm choosing to go to the spa, I want to know that, hey, I'm taking this time, I'm setting it aside so that I can take care of myself physically, or I can create some time for myself to reflect in a more relaxed environment. Oh, I
Mhm.
want to use the
Some
time.
people just need to turn their brain off
Yeah,
because a lot of the stress is like we're constantly jumping around, and the whole meditation slash the way I see spa, not spa of like, oh, I'm getting a pedicure or whatever.
yeah,
I
yeah,
see it as okay, you're putting yourself in a space that actually isn't designed to make you relax and unplug. And so if you're just on your phone at the spa, you're not unplugging, are you?
yeah,
And
absolutely.
also, if you're worrying at the spa, you're also not unplugging.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think to your point, you can go through the reflection and problem solve, but I think it's also valid to like literally turn off your brain and just be in the present moment and enjoy. I'm thinking of like a Korean spot where I'm just like laying in the fucking thing, right? Like the
Honestly, same.
Jjimjilbang,
Yeah, I was
right?
thinking
And so
of
it's like,
exactly.
okay, yeah, I'm like, okay, my phone is not on. I'm not thinking about anything else. I'm just in the moment. Yeah, this is actually value add for my health because I should be more present rather than worrying about the future or depressed about the past.
Yeah, and that's absolutely valid with the intention of doing that. I
Of
think when,
course.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like I definitely had a friend who would just go to the spa, and I was like, "Oh, are you trying to relax?" And they're like, "Oh, I don't know. I'm gonna figure it out." And I was like, "Were you just at the spa trying to relax, but not thinking about relaxing? More about, I don't know, like how are you going
They
about?"
just did it, but they didn't know why or like the intent behind it. They're just like, I think
Yeah,
that's what I should do. I
yeah,
gotcha.
yeah. Once again, our vein of frustration with people who say things that they don't mean and do things that
That's the next topic. People who just say shit.
are.
That's how I label this. But as I was explaining to Aiden before this thought was from people who okay, how do I say this? There's a lot of context. People who say shit just to say shit, and I think that an example of this is like when you go into a social setting or friends or whatever, and they just say stuff because they think that's a socially acceptable thing to say. But I think it stems from them just trying to look good and or people please because they think that's what they should say. So for example, here's a random one. It's like a friend will be like, "Oh yeah, I just started a side hustle and I'm doing this, this, this," or "Oh, I'm going to do a boot camp for coding because, and so when I hear stuff like that, and if I'm thinking, okay, I don't know if those really are the right things, but that's just my own judgment, I
Uh-huh.
can be like, why would you want to do that? Are you just saying that just because you expect me and or the people
Uh-huh.
around us to be like, oh, that's so cool. You are so great because you are doing a side hustle and you do so many things. And oh, you're going to code. That's a great career. Oh, you're going back to school for whatever, a grad program for
Uh,
MBA.
uh,
Wow, you are amazing. But then for me, my BS radar is always goes off for those people because I know from historical accounts and the data of what they've done and what they've achieved, you
yeah.
are not going to do any of that shit. Like you're just saying it just to say it. It's different if I've seen you put in the work and I've seen you consistently deliver on what we're saying. That's different. I'm talking about the people that you know in your heart that they're not going to do any of that stuff because they always jump from things and just say stuff and they say maybe they start, but they absolutely never finish. And so that's where my gripe is. And I'm just like, my ask is just be honest with who you are, have some self reflection, go to the spa and self reflect on who you are. And then actually say, like, if you come to me as a friend or even as a random person and be like, honestly, I don't know what my career is going. And I just played video games all day. I just scrolled social media. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, but let's just hang out. I'm like, fantastic. I fucking love you. Let's hang out because you know who you are. You're not bullshitting anyone. You're most importantly not bullshitting yourself and you're not bullshitting me. And so I trust you and I respect you more. But I understand the other side of that is that most of society probably won't react the way I do. And I get that. Like they're going to judge you and they're like, who's this loser playing video games and they have their careers not figured out? And then the girls that you try to approach or the people you're trying to date are be like, no, screw this person. They're such low value. Whereas I get that. And so, yeah, maybe I'm in the minority of just accepting people as they are. And I'd rather people have integrity and just speak their truth rather than bullshit. But
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I have a lot of gripes about this as well. I talk to my therapist all the time, and I'm like, I want to know that your intentions align with what you say and or what you do. Because for me, right, if my intention is to make someone feel good, but I do something and they don't feel good, the next step is to recognize that and then now pivot my action to get the outcome that I wanted, right? And so I feel like we're definitely in the minority because people will just say and do things without thinking. And that lack of self-awareness is really frustrating for me. And my therapist's question is like, why do you care about people's intentions? And I was like,
Of
because
course,
words
yeah.
mean things, you know?
I know.
So
Same.
whenever I'm in a situation where someone's like, oh, you code, that's cool. I was thinking about going into coding too. And I was like, okay, why?
Yeah. No, you
Like,
don't.
yeah, I was just like, okay, let me know how the coding course goes because if it's good, maybe I'll try it. You know, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll let someone else know if they want to try it. But nothing
That
ever comes
reminds me
of
of
it.
yeah, maybe I talked to you about this before, but in college, when people would be like, "Oh my God, teach me how to dance," and in my head, I'm like, "You don't want to know how to dance because if you wanted to know how to dance, you would be dancing right now. You don't need me to teach you. You're either just one saying shit just to say shit, or two, you think that's the right thing to say, or three, you just like I don't know, you're aspirational, and this is just how you go through life. Is just saying you want to do some stuff, but you don't actually want to do it."
I think my younger self relates to that a little bit in that there are things I would like to do, or like I'll see it and I was like, oh my God, that's cool. I would love to do that. And then
Right,
there's
right.
this insecurity and this fear that will lock me down and prevent me from starting because if I'm not immediately perfect at anything, I don't
Of
want to do
course,
it.
I get that.
Very relatable, very understandable, but I have grown. And my goal or my desire for everyone around me is like, you also grow, you know? Like I
Hmm,
would love for
hmm, hmm.
people to say, I used to be there, but now I'm at this place where I understand where I'm at and I'm okay with it. Or I understand that I have this insecurity and I'm working on it. That's totally valid. I think one of the clearest examples of me getting into a fight with someone about this, which my therapist has told me was completely unnecessary. I do think it was like a good value assessment for myself. There was this Discord that I was in, and we were just on a voice call, just talking. And this guy goes, oh my God, I'm so excited for Coachella. I want to go to Coachella. And this was back when everyone was talking about how the owners of Coachella make a ton of money and then put it towards anti-LGBT policy on a federal level.
Right, right.
And
Yeah.
so I brought that up and I was like, oh, you know that this is a fact, right? And his response was, well, there's nowhere else for a group of like gay Asians to meet up. And I was like, what are you talking about? We literally have so many spaces that we can meet up, like literally any other festival, any other concert. And honestly, if you already know people, you all can pitch in $5 and get a really nice 20-bedroom mansion in the middle of Kansas that's central for everybody and still have your good time together, guaranteed. And his response was, well, why don't you organize that? You do it then. And I was like, but I'm not the one asking for more Gaysian spaces. Like, I'm
Hmm.
okay not going to Coachella, and I'm okay with you going to Coachella, but don't lie to me and give me these other reasons because that reason's not really valid. Like, you have other solutions. And he's like, okay, well, what if I just want to go to Coachella? And I was like, that's perfect. That's perfectly fine. You can say, hey, I know the politics is shitty, but it is a good time. There's no ethical consumption under capitalism, right? So if someone wants to eat Chick-fil-A around me, I'm going to say, hey, that's not my preference of place to eat at, but I understand
Yeah.
the waffle fries are fire. So when people say, I know the politics are shit, but I really like the waffle fries. And I was like, you know what? That's fine. Like, as long as you're aware, right? You're aware of what you're doing. You're aware of like where your money's going.
Like your values, right?
Yeah.
I think I mentioned this, but I am very food business. What is the word? Like ambiguous, agnostic, or whatever about their ethics. I'm like, if you show me a good deal, and that comes across my Instagram or promotion, and it's like buy one get one off,
Yeah.
freaking Chick-fil-A. I'm be like, I'm gonna go to Chick-fil-A in 5 minutes because that is a good deal, and I don't give a fuck because my justification is again value system. Earning money, earning
Hmm.
girl math or whatever you want to call it, right? I'm
Yeah.
making money because I got to buy one, get one free. And like it's a good deal, fits in with that. And it's actually, I think that's my value system is if it's a good deal. I think because I'm like, but I don't know. I'm going to
Does it
stop
have to
myself
be
there.
good tasting? What if it's a good
So
deal,
yeah,
but
okay. So exactly. So the reason why I didn't say good tasting on that is because I've bought things where I'm like, I don't even really want this, but I need to, or else I'm going to lose money because it's such a good deal. And so there's the only times, okay, here's my thing. The only times I go to Starbucks is when there's a ridiculously good promo. And I'm
Mhm.
like, okay, Starbucks, right. No one likes Starbucks, whatever. They're losing money. Fantastic. I love that. They are not making money off of me for sure. And so these businesses are for sure losing money off of me. Maybe they aren't. Maybe it
Mhm.
cost, 10 cents to make that Chick-fil-A sandwich, but like off of me, they're not getting retail for sure. I'm not going to pay the full price for that. I'm always going to get some sort of really good deal. So there's a threshold for me of that, of, okay, I'm going to do my best to earn money, save money for myself, but I'm for sure going to make sure that that business is not going to earn retail price off of me.
Yeah. And
That's how I do my social justice.
yeah, valid. And I know that there are companies that I give money to that people don't like, right? Or there are reasons not to give them money. What was it? Target. People said Target is
Yeah.
DEI because they got rid of their DEI policy when Trump came into office. I'm like, I'm not gonna lie. I like walking to Target, guys. It's nice and it's convenient. Will I always buy something? No. Do I know that they're anti-DEI or if they've rescinded their DEI policy? Yes. And that's the bullet I'm willing to bite.
Yeah.
I'm aware of my choices. Are you? And I think that's, for me, the big crux of the issue is I just want folks to be honest, be transparent.
Right. Yeah. And, I have a good number of friends too who are very, buy local, small businesses. Nothing wrong with that, right? And it's okay, sure, that's fine. But I think everyone has their threshold of what they're willing to make adjustments for. So for me, since a high value priority for me is like the money aspect, the economic one, is it worth the additional drive to go to this place to spend more money on a locally sourced small business, whatever, handcrafted thing? Maybe, maybe not. But I think, like, if you, like, to your point, to the awareness of, yeah, maybe it is more ethical to go to this like mom and pop store, but also my favorite place is like literally right there and I go there all the time and I got rewards from them. For all I know, Seven Leaves could be like a horrible company and they like, kill babies or something. I don't know. I'm still going until I hear that exact line. I have like 700 Leaves rewards points just stacked up. Same with Davien. And I'm like, there are reasons why I go here for the convenience, the service, the value, the experience, etc. And I'll do that calculus again if I hear that there's some atrocities that they're funding. I don't know.
Yeah. And, that's totally valid. I think I lean a little bit more towards the political, like the socio-political side of that, because the finances for me, if we talk about spending habits, it's awful.
Oh my God.
I have
That's our next topic, so keep going.
I have very weak justification for finances. I'll be like, you know what? It's fine. I'll just spend. But if we're at I don't know, let's say a farmer's market and the choices are this mom and pop, like, what do we call those? Like a mom and pop, like little stand or like a Chipotle stand. I'll go to the mom and pop one, just because there's I never see them anyways. It's like they're right there. I might as well. There's
like those vendor fairs or whatever, those like farmers markets, etc. Yeah.
And honestly, I think it's worth the experience because it elevates the experience for me anyways.
The third topic was good deals and the phantom cost of space. So I already talked about how my addiction / Achilles heel is good deals, even if I don't want it. But there are so many buy one, get one deals in the past however many months. And half the time I'll give her the free drink that I'm getting, but Blessy babysits these drinks. And so the next day there's another BOGO and it's at Davien. And I'm like, hey, there's egg coffee, buy one, get one free. She's like, I still have my 7 Leaves from yesterday. I'm like, is this what it's like to be single? Not having a girlfriend I can just give free drinks to? I'm joking, obviously, guys. Don't hate me. So half of these cases, if the BOGOs are too close together, I am drinking 2 7 Leaves by myself or 2 Daviens. And so like just a big back I am. Like I have one waiting in my fridge for the next day because obviously I don't want to like, fall off on her diet and I support her there. But I'm like, but you don't support my need to buy more things than I need. That's my first world problem. So now, leading up from good deals is the phantom cost of space is the actual topic. And so now, not to be on a too much of a high horse, but I know it is so I get these BOGOs, I consume it, whatever, it's gone. But I think what people need to question more is when they do jump on these deals, there's the hidden phantom costs of buying tangible goods or items like a purse or a TV, right? Oh my God, this name brand purse is on sale, $300 off. Or, oh my God, this flat screen TV is off $500, right? And you can wait in line for 6 hours to do this Black Friday $500. That's, first of all, that's bullshit for so many reasons, for my own value system. But I'm like, now you're out garage space for 2 TVs if you even have a garage or if you store it wherever. when you buy a physical thing, you need to account for the real estate that you are now giving it in your living space because everything is real estate. Meaning now you just have a new tenant living in your house or your room rent free that doesn't spark joy, you don't need, is not functional, it's just sitting there. You only bought because it was a good deal and you made money off it or whatever. But it's like, but now it's a physical thing that you have to deal with. And for me, and I find in a lot of like minimalism principles, is the more things you have, the more stressed out you are, the more anxious you are, the more you have to take care of stuff, and the less space you have because the more it's taken up by things that you don't actually need or want, right? So my takeaway is, yeah, good deals, whatever. Obviously, I'm in that train. I drink the Kool-Aid, but I think people need a question when they make these consumers purchases is if it takes up real estate and space, think about the phantom cost because sure, you save $300, $400 on that TV, but if you let it sit in your garage for 2 years, you actually lost money because now you have less space, more anxiety, more stress about stuff, and you could have used that money on something else.
I feel that because I don't know if you've noticed, I've cleared out some of the shelves here just because the amount of things building up in my room was getting to a point where it was suffocating. And even my mom, who doesn't ever really come into my room, walked past one day and she's like, wow, it just feels so much lighter. There's so much air now. And I was like, well, yeah, that's because there's empty space.
There's literally more air in this room than
Yeah. And I do agree that the cost of having physical things live in the space is something that I have not taken into account for before. It's pretty funny to me to hear your story because I feel like growing up, I've had the opposite experience where if someone would gift me something, I would say, don't give me food or drink because that's gone in 2 seconds. Give me something that I can hang on to. And now that I'm at this point in my life where I have so many things I'm hanging on to, I have come to this point where I have to determine how long is a thing allowed to stay with me before I can let it go. And if I were to let it go, in what manner I would let it go, right? So that's been an interesting transition or like change for me.
Yeah, that makes sense. I also recently reread Marie Kondo's The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up. So it kind of reminded me of this sort of thing, of the phantom cost of your physical items. And so I thought about that a lot. It's, yeah, there's actually weighing you. It's kind of like debt. If you have a thing that is not serving a purpose in your life, the physical space it takes up is debt. And so I tell people like, look, yeah, I'm like the opposite. I'm like, buy me food or something that I can consume and be gone with, or stickers or one-piece t-shirts. That's literally it because t-shirts take up minimal space, highly functional, high on the spark joy meter. And so if it's not those two things, it is just gathering dust in my room until I can throw it away safely without you noticing that I threw it away.
Also, I do have this tendency to be like, oh my goodness, deal. Let me like impulse buy. So that is something that I've had to really pause myself on. I'll see a good deal and like actually just sit there for a minute, holding it, being like, will I ever use you? Or are you just going to sit there? Because if you're just going to sit there, I might as well not get you. And I think it's hard because I'm like, I want it though, even if it just sits there.
Makes sense.
Discipline is hard.
Most of the things that sit there in my room are gifts from other people. And I'm really good at if it's not, well, it's backfired because if it's not One Piece related, it's gone in a week. But these One Piece things that are like figurines, and I'm like, it sparks joy, but also it takes up too much space. So those things like usually gather dust for longer. And I honestly have not been able to throw away some One Piece things. So that's the trick. If you're my friend listening to this, if you want me to keep the thing that you get me, and just to torture me, yeah, buy me like a physical One Piece thing that takes up space. And I'll be like, shit, I don't know how to get rid of this because it's One Piece. But at the same time, it's like, I hate things that take up so much space if it's not, again, t-shirts or a sticker or a consumable.
Yeah. I'll get you a life-size Zoro figurine.
You're a terrible person.
You will keep that forever.
No, I'll be like I'll just cuddle with that. I'm like, God damn it, fucking Aiden. I was like, cuddle with this huge ass Zoro. Okay, sorry. Spending habits now that we're bleeding into the next one. For me, I mentioned this, it's like I've gotten to the point where growing up more frugal or, less financially well off, you get used to rationing things and being more conservative or intentional with your money, and that'll serve you to a point. But it's gotten to a point where There are some things where it's worth the purchase, obviously. And as I become more wise with my finances, it's okay, these things will actually increase the value of my life. And I'll tell myself when I'm on the fence about a purchase, and I'm like, usually I'd be too frugal about it. I'll be like, dude, I make way too much money to worry about buying extra this. If anyone ever asks me my own questions against me, which is like best purchase that you've made in the last 6 months, it would be extra chargers, right? Phone chargers or laptop chargers for me, because the unplugging it, wrapping it up, taking it with me, and then putting it in and then going back home and doing that setup. I'm like, dude, I make way too much money to not buy another $30 laptop adapter battery charger thing. So now I bought multiple, and same thing with my like phone charger, to bring your one charger and then potentially lose it rather than just having five lying around where you need it has been a game changer. So it's just spending money more wisely. So
Man, yeah, I definitely relate with a lot of the early things. Same thing, I'll get books and toys, and I was like, oh, but I want it to stay in good condition. And because of that, I don't touch it for a while, which
yeah.
at some point it's like, well, what was the point of this?
What's the point of this toy? Yeah.
Yeah, I think one example that I had brought up earlier was sometimes I'll get snacks, and I was like, oh my God, this is such a good snack, but I want to save it for a good occasion. And next thing I know, it's been 2 years, the snack is now expired. And I was like, I mean, what if another good occasion comes and I ruined it by eating it today? And I was like, oh man.
Right.
So
Scarcity.
exactly. So I've just had to really train myself into reminding myself that I'm no longer in that space, right? Like I'm no longer in a scarcity mindset. I have a job. I can afford a couple things. Like I can afford socks. It's fine. Just wear the socks. But I think I swung a little bit harder than you, where I'm kind of like, oh man, like I can afford socks and I can afford nice socks. So I'm gonna get like these
Yeah.
$1 gold inlaid socks. And then I'm like, that wasn't really necessary, but I do have these socks now.
Yeah.
So I find myself in this space, especially after our financial discussions over the past year, in trying to reel myself back from that hard swing and say, yes, I have disposable income that I can spend on socks, but also let's, be rational and reasonable about what kind of socks we're buying.
Yeah, definitely. I think, yeah, to your point, like I've had friends and even coaching clients who had that same problem where maybe it's a psychological thing, or when we grow up poor or grow up
Mhm.
frugal, and then now that we have a little bit of money, we think like the floodgates go open. And so
Yeah.
one of my clients too had that same experience where it's like, oh, but it's worth spending money on experiences because that's like an investment. And I'm like, girl, no, that's not what an investment is. That's a lifestyle luxury purchase. That is a purchase that's not necessary. It's an indulgence, right? And if you want to, as long as you label it in the right category financially, you're fine. You budget for it, you label the right category, it's fine, but don't delude yourself into thinking it's an investment. You going to the spa is not a crap. Now we're back and forth. Uh, So, a spa in the traditional sense of just, oh my God, spa, get manicure, pedicure, that is not an investment in anything. Sure, you can say you can relax, but that's literally a luxury. That's like that Louis Vuitton purse. You shouldn't just dump money because you think it's an investment. You should be more intentional of where you're putting your resources so that you don't swing too hard in that direction. And so for me, what I teach is once everything is covered in going in the direction where it should be going in terms of your money, now you have this slice of your pie that you can spend guilt free. Yeah, go ahead, throw it away on luxury items or whatever self-care indulgences,
Mhm.
because you have your investments and your savings taken care of, and your income is good, and you're growing your skill level and all this other stuff. But then, yeah, I think for me, it was like my household spending was so low that
Mhm.
I didn't realize that some of that household spending can go into my gratuitous spending, and I have a ton of money for gratuitous spending, and now extra chargers and socks are now in the gratuitous spending
Wow.
category.
Love that for you. I'm glad they're no longer luxuries. I'm definitely moving into a space of being a little more discerning. So, for example, even with chargers, I would say, well, I have one and it kind of works. So that should be fine. It's
Yeah.
not hurting me to get another one. But maybe a month ago, I actually was just like, you know what? Let me buy a new charger that actually just works all the time and then take better care of that one. That's, a win-win situation for both me and my charger.
Yeah. There is that piece of taking care of stuff. That's a Marie Kondo as well. You treat things as precious and they'd last longer. I'm all about longevity and getting the most of your money out of whatever you buy.
Yeah, absolutely. And then that for that one, I'm trying to peel that one back a little bit. Caring for things too much and never using them, not good. So, oh, here's an example. I have these huge water bottles, or the one that I was using, and my mom had a similar one, and it just broke one day. And so I was like, oh, but technically it's still usable. I should hang on to it. Like,
Yeah.
sure, it doesn't fill up all the way because at the top it'll leak, but it's okay. And then I had to talk myself down and say, you know what? Mom doesn't use hers. I'll just use hers. I'll throw mine away. And then hers was sitting idle for so long that the handle just broke because the plastic was not
Oh,
great.
yeah,
And I was
yeah.
like, well, I could still use it. It's just the handle doesn't work. And I had to keep fighting myself back and forth on this because I was like, why am I using a thing that like just doesn't work the way that it was supposed to? And what I didn't think of was like in my room, I have like three of these, like
Mm.
other water containers, other liquid containers that I could just use instead that work perfectly fine. And we're sitting there gathering dust because I was like, oh, they're new. I don't want to use them. After a month, I decided to throw away the two broken bottles, and I am now using this very nice, like honey colored hydro flask.
I'll sit on a purchase if I don't think it's absolutely necessary, and of course, the more expensive the purchase, the longer I'll sit on it. But I think about the problem it's going to solve or the inconvenience that it's solving and how much it costs. And so let's say this thing is like a $5 to $10 purchase that is very inconvenient, and that $5 to $10 would solve it immediately. And I will actually use the thing. It's not going to gather dust in this situation. But I realized that I spent $50 on a dinner that I didn't really need last week. And so I'm like, okay, I know I'm spending a lot more money on less useful, important things like mindlessly, and taking off the table that I have the budget for all of this, right? So I have the budget for all of this. It's fine. But
Mm.
it's okay. I can just instead now spend less money unintentionally on these larger purchases that are significantly more times more expensive. And a $5 purchase here will actually improve the quality of my life. I've been doing that calculus more, and it's been helpful to make the right purchases.
Mm. That's good to know. I'm definitely working on pivoting my spending habits. You know, like I said before, based on a lot of our financial conversations over the past year, and also now that I have a finance tracking budgeting tool that I can look at, it's been giving me some insights into what my spending habits are. And it's pretty interesting because I definitely think I have a lot of invisible recurring
Mm,
payments that are now being brought to light because the tracker is just like,
right.
oh, we've noticed a couple recurring
Interesting.
payments. Here
Yeah.
they all are. And I was like, dang, I'm spending a lot of money on things that just suck up money each month.
Yeah.
Uh,
So you know what they are, but you didn't know you were having them?
like I logically knew they were there, but emotionally I didn't feel the impact of their continued
Oh,
recurrence.
you didn't see it. But they're worth being on the payroll.
That's the conversation that I had to have with myself, and with things that were not,
Okay.
I had to cut the cord and say, you know what? It's okay. Thank you. Bye.
Yeah. Those are one of those things like red flags that I try to look out for, are these recurring subscriptions, because I'm
Mm.
like, okay, if I'm gonna mindlessly let you take my money each month, like every time I see that charge, like it hurts a little bit, but I'm like, okay, can I justify another month? And if I'm using it, getting the value, sure, whatever. But sometimes I'm just like, ah, shit, yeah, I should really pull the plug on this because it's the fear of loss too. Like, oh, I'm not gonna have access to this thing anymore, like Amazon Prime or whatever the thing is. But it's like, really? But am I using it? That's a dangerous thing because it's now mindless automation in the wrong direction. You want mindless automation in the direction of savings and investing, but not in the way of spending. I feel like
Yeah.
that's like a tip.
And I think the like cousin sister pair to that is if I see a recurring payment and I feel like I'm not getting value out of it, to get more value out of it. Uh,
Mm, mm,
an
mm.
example of that was I used to share a Netflix account with a friend who lived in Philly. And because of the IP locking, we no longer share. So I decided to get the Disney Plus bundle instead, watch stuff that I haven't seen yet. And there was a period in which I was not really watching anything. I was deferring to YouTube a lot more. And I recalled that I was being charged by Disney for this. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to focus on watching stuff on the Disney bundle, right? I am now watching more Disney shows, more Hulu shows, HBO Max. And because of that, I'm feeling like it's now bringing more value from the money that I'm putting out. And it's also, giving me happiness, joy, and spending my free doing something that is not work related.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Because in that situation, you're like, okay, you're going to watch something anyways. You want to watch this. And so it works out.
Yeah.
As opposed to, I think the slippery slope is justifying something like that in another situation where it's actually, I know I shouldn't be watching TV as much. So I should actually cancel it and stop watching and do something more productive. I mean, that's a scenario where it's like, okay, you got to be careful. But if you're intentional about, no, I want to watch stuff and I know I can budget my energy to this, then that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And, once again, I know Disney is not always the best company. And this is a bullet I will
But it's
buy.
a good deal. It is a good
It's a
bundle
good
deal,
deal.
though. You get so much of the bundle. What are you talking about?
And listen, I will own it. If people say, your money's going to like a company who does bad stuff, I'll say yes, and the content
Shut
is
up and eat your
good.
Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, exactly. I was just like, you enjoy Chick-fil-A? I enjoy Disney. Everybody has their, what do we call it? Their faults? I don't know. Their vices.
Yeah. Their vices.
Yeah, just own it. It's
Nice.
fine. You're allowed to have your vices. Just know it.
Yeah, that is the takeaway is self-awareness, own your vices, go to the spa, good deals, know your values. Okay, so we're past the hour. I'm going to try to keep this super tight because I do have a hard out eventually. But I think we covered all the topics. Is there
Yeah.
anything you think we missed?
No, I think that's everything.
Cool. Well, I mean, I thought this was fun. I think, unlike a super random show, I feel like it was very focused and we had some recurring themes,
Yeah.
threads going through there. So if the
Absolutely.
listeners can get to those, hopefully get some value out of our own echo chamber of we just think the same and the same things bother us and we're in the minority. If you got some value, great.
We are the oppressed few.
We are the oppressed few who just want to optimize and are angry at other people for not being as optimized. That's our archetype. It's funny because it's true. All right, so if nothing else, then I guess we can do our sign off. Gratitude. What are you grateful for, Aeden?
I'm really grateful for
you.
a lot of the work that you put into, improving yourself and the honesty that you approach yourself with, because I think that just naturally lends itself to our relationship as well. And so, it may be an echo chamber, but it was designed to be one, and I'm happy to be here.
It's true. Because our echo chamber is our self-care indulgence where we get to unwind and de-stress, right? It's like,
absolutely.
I'm so mad. Thanks for validating my feelings because you feel the same way. even if we might both be wrong, who cares?
Yep.
Nice. All right. Where can people find you if they want to check out what you're up to and connect and whatnot?
You can check out Instagram. So my Instagram is where I'm most active socially, even though I'm not super, super active. Yeah. And just hit me up.
Sweet. Okay. All right. Well, then that is it. Let me wind to a close now. So thank you guys for being here. I really appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed this very random show. Sort of not random, whatever. I think if Aeden and I's sort of random chats are your style, you will enjoy this episode. If our thought processes really turn you off, don't ever listen to our random shows because it's pretty much just this. Is us just talking about the same themes, which is whatever. As long as we're having fun, it's our indulgence. So if you did enjoy it, leave us 5 stars on whatever platform you're listening to. Leave Aeden love in the comments. 5 stars, like, subscribe, follow, etc. Reminder to always be kind to other people, especially yourself. Don't be as judgmental as us. And remember that you can always learn something from someone if you take the time to listen. So thank you guys for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much.